Welcome to the Strength for Life podcast. God's word, the Bible, is sufficient for all things that pertain unto life and godliness, 2 Peter 1 says. Additionally, God has placed his people in a variety of occupations and circumstances and has given them practical wisdom unique to those gifts, skills, and experiences. This podcast intends to bring together those two things, the Bible's sufficiency and Christian wisdom, through long-form discussions hosted by Pastor James C. Johnson about matters relevant to Christian life and culture. May the following conversation provide strength for your life.
Hey there, I'm James Johnson, and I welcome you to today's Strength for Life podcast. If you clicked on this podcast because you're interested in weight loss, I want you to know that I respect you. I personally lost 75 pounds, and my weight loss journey started about 5 years ago, and it took me about 1.5 years to get that weight off, and I've kept it off ever since. And so I want to just talk a little bit about my experience and what worked for me. I did not do any meal plans. I didn't do any kind of Jenny Craig stuff. I didn't do any Ozempic. But what I did do, I want to explain in this video, okay? I want to talk about exercise. I want to talk about diet. And then I want to talk more extensively about the why. Because lots of people, and you could find lots of information about exercise, and so lots of people talk to you about that. Lots of people talk to you about diet, and you can gather food information all over the place. But it seems like very few people are talking about the why, and it is the why that will help you exercise when you don't feel like exercising, if you've got a really good why. And it's the why that will help you make good food choices when you want to indulge in something you know you shouldn't. Why should I abstain from that particular food choice? So the why really matters. So briefly about exercise and diet, and extensively about the why. That's what we're in for in this podcast today, okay? So let's talk about exercise. In the month of January, lots of people go and get a gym membership. And they say, yeah, I've got some extra pounds on me and I need to lose this weight. And so I'm going to go move weight around, or I'm going to do some cardio, and I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to exercise. Here's the problem with that. What I tell people is don't exercise for the sake of weight loss. Stop it. Gym membership is not the answer. The old saying is you can't out-exercise a bad diet. Really, the science behind weight loss has to do with diet, not as much exercise. But that doesn't mean I don't think you should exercise. I exercise regularly. If you know me, you know I do that. I do body weight exercises constantly throughout a day, push-ups or squats. I do pull-ups in the morning. I jog a little bit throughout the week. I try to stay active. Exercise is important, but not for the sake of, there's no way you're going to exercise away 75 pounds or whatever your weight loss goal is. So why should a person exercise? Here's why. You should exercise regularly for the mental benefit. The truth is that exercise is one of the most underrated antidepressants on the planet. Depression is a huge problem in the United States of America. You might say it's an epidemic. And people are trying to solve their depression problem with pills, and those pills have side effects. And if you choose to take those pills, that's between you and your doctor and your family. But I'm telling you that you should start, if you have a depression problem or a discouragement problem, you should start with exercise. Regularly walking, or regularly cycling, or regularly running, or whatever it is. Get the blood flowing in your body. Again, exercise is the most underrated antidepressant on the planet. So why should a person exercise? Mental benefit. Another reason is gut health. So if you do eat a meal, after maybe 20, 30 minutes after the meal, it's a good thing to go on a walk. It's a good thing to do something that is going to help your body process the food that you just took in. Okay, gut health. So that's a second reason that everybody should be exercising on a regular basis. Gut health, mental benefit, gut health. And then a distant third is that if you exercise, you're going to burn calories. But But again, you can't out-exercise a bad diet, so you don't exercise in order to lose weight. Um, the saying is that abs are made in the kitchen. So again, really weight loss is about diet way more than it is about exercise, but everybody should be exercising. And when I had all the extra weight on me, um, exercise was such a chore until I figured out this, and that is that you have to find the way you like to move. So where you can move and it's not stressful, it's not annoying. For me, that was basketball. Um, so I can play basketball and it not be stressful to me. I can do that for a couple hours. When I was a younger man, I could do it all through the night at teen lock-ins and stuff. I'm just saying, find a way you like to move. I have a friend who's very good at racquetball. He's actually heavier. Uh, he's about my height, but heavier than I ever was. But he's much better at racquetball than I am. If I play him one-on-one, he's going to get me. It's what he's good at. It's what he likes to do. But he can play that and it not be a chore to him. Another friend of mine likes to ride his bike. Whatever it is, what is the way you like to move where you can do it for quite a while and it not be super stressful? When I had a bunch of that weight on me, I decided, yeah, I know I need to exercise for mental benefit and gut health, and maybe I'll burn some calories doing it too. So I'm going to go and play basketball. I got to the point where now I've lost all that weight. And so now I exercise in a whole bunch of other ways, and I ended up enjoying those ways. But when I had all that weight on me, I couldn't have exercised to the extent that I do right now. So exercise for all the right reasons. A lot of people will get the gym membership and they keep eating the way they've always eaten, and then they're not losing the weight, and so they stop going to the gym because they were trying to go to the gym to lose weight. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, get a gym membership if you want, but just because you know exercise is important, not necessarily because you're going to lose weight as a result of it. Okay. So yeah, there's some thoughts about exercise. Not only exercise, but then let's talk about diet. This is really the key to weight loss. What worked for me is a high protein, healthy fat kind of diet. Okay. So I would eat carbohydrates, but they are typically fibrous carbs. Broccoli is a fibrous carb. So yeah, that's really what you should be looking to most people should be looking to take in good protein so you can maintain muscle mass, healthy fats. Of course, things like avocado and nuts and other things are healthy fats. I mentioned protein, so salmon and chicken and those kinds of things. Fibrous carbs are lots of fruits and vegetables, really. But you should eat way more fruits than you should you should eat way more vegetables. I'm sorry, than you should fruits. Sometimes fruit is difficult for our liver to process. So yeah, that's the basics of what you should be eating. And really, if you're going to lose your stored fat, you're going to have to tap into your fat storage. Okay, so you have to live in a caloric deficit. If you've got extra weight on your body, you've got a caloric surplus. Okay, so a lot of people have done intermittent fasting. That's something that I did that really helped me. So some people do the 16 and 8. Somebody I work with on a regular basis has been doing that now consistently, and they're seeing the benefits. So the fasting period of their 24-hour day, they fast for 16 hours, then they have a feasting window of 8 hours. When I was very serious about weight loss, I decided to do what's known as the warrior fast. So you end up having a very small feasting window. A lot of people do OMAD, 1 meal a day is what OMAD stands for. So when I was very serious about it, I was doing 1 meal a day. So I like to eat a dinner meal at about 4:15. So I would eat at 4:15, be done eating about 5, and that's it, 5 p.m. And then in the evening, no food at all, nothing but water, sleep through the night, and then all day no food until 4:15 again the next day. So I would end up tapping into, and I'd still be working, I'd still be preaching. I'm a pastor. I'd still be communicating with people, and so all that takes energy. And so in order to engage with people and to do my job and things such as that, my body was performing those tasks with the fat storage on my body. So yeah, intermittent fasting is a great way to burn through those things. And then when I would sit down to eat, I would eat high protein, healthy fat, fibrous carb kind of diet. So I recommend avoiding all processed foods as much as you can. What they say is that when you grocery shop, you should primarily be on the outside aisles of the grocery store. That's where you're going to find the meat. That's where you're going to find the vegetables, the fruits and vegetables. You go in the inside aisles, you're going to find all the processed foods. You're going to find the Pop-Tarts, which is nonsense, and the Cheez-Its and the whatever else. So what worked for me is an understanding of some of these kind of food groups and making sure I'm getting good protein, good fat, and good carbs, and avoiding manufactured food. Another thing that worked for me is I stopped drinking my calories. I went several years without drinking a soda pop. And when I did drink coffee, it's just black coffee, so very, very, very low calorie. It's not a good idea to be drinking sugary drinks of any type. And so avoid drinking your calories. For the longest time, all I did was either black coffee or water and some green tea. No honey, no sugar, no cream, nothing added to it. So I pretty much avoided drinking calories. Okay, and then another idea as it pertains to diet is when you do eat to make sure you eat nutrient dense food. Nutrient dense food as opposed to calorically dense food. So again, these processed foods like Pop-Tarts and Cheez-Its are calorically dense. You're going to get a lot of calories if you eat one Pop-Tart, but you get almost no nutrient from it. So what happened for me is my palate changed. I all of a sudden had a craving for things that were nutrient dense, for fuel, as opposed to fun. I had to figure out, okay, if I'm going to sustain life, if I'm going to thrive at life, I need to take in things that are actually going to fuel my body as opposed to food that is fun. So 6 days a week, I'm eating fuel, and then maybe a cheat day where I have some fun. But again, my palate changed. So when ice cream is offered, I'm not like craving it like I maybe once was. The way I got up to as much weight as I was, 241 pounds at 5'10", the way I got up to that was just about every night for a decade. I'm eating a bowl of ice cream, and in the morning I'm eating sugary cereals, milk, usually to wash down the ice cream. And of course, there is uh, calories in milk. And so once I got serious about losing all that weight, I stopped all of that processed food and calorically dense food. And I started to have then an appetite for nutrient dense food that will really fuel my body, that is rich in vitamins and nutrients. Okay. So eat nutrient dense food as opposed to calorically dense food, and avoid sugar. Granulated sugar, avoid it as much as possible. Um, and I don't feel like I could overstate that. Uh, like, did you know that sugar feeds cancer? We have a huge problem with cancer in our country. And there's a lot of treatments, and you do what your doctor tells you to do. But if I ever get a diagnosis of cancer, I will go no sugar at all. I only have it minimally now, and I had it very minimally when I was trying to lose weight. But when people are drinking sugary drinks and they're eating, Pop-Tarts and ice cream constantly, donuts and candy bars, and even mints with sugar in them, it's just too much. It's too much. No wonder we have a cancer problem. Um, so avoid sugar at all costs. Um, Somebody I love very dearly who passed of cancer recently, just was so hooked on sugar. And he passed away of cancer. And one of the times I went to see him, and I warned him about sugar and its effects, and how it feeds cancer. My doctor, who's a very good Christian doctor here in Pensacola, is the one who confirmed for me that yes, most cancers are fed by sugar. And so I went to see this fellow who I love, who recently passed of cancer, and sitting next to him uh, is an A&W root beer, and people in our church are praying that God would heal this man from his cancer. and he's drinking A&W. He's feeding the cancer. Um, and so, it's his prerogative. But if we're gonna say, God, heal me from this, we have to do our part, to try to regulate ourselves. And so, anyhow, avoid sugar as much as possible. Pick fuel over fun as much as possible. Your palate will change, and all of a sudden, the fuel will end up being fun for you. Okay. Um, I encourage you this way to become food informed without being a food Pharisee. Gather food information, figure out how food affects your body. And I'm ashamed to admit that when I started pursuing weight loss, I had no idea what the major food categories were. I didn't understand proteins and fats and carbs. I'm 44 years old now. I lived to be 38 and a half or so years before I realized the difference between proteins, fats, and carbs. I became food informed. And I say without being a food Pharisee because food will affect my body differently than it may affect somebody else's body. Now, there are some universal truths that overlap for everybody, but then there are some particulars. And so if somebody else is eating something that I would not or should not eat, I don't need to have some kind of holier than thou pious disposition towards them. They need to sort all that stuff out on their own. So become food informed without being a food Pharisee. Um, uh, my wife and I's son, Matthew, is a type 1 diabetic. So he doesn't have a working pancreas. Okay. So people in our family can eat foods that he should not eat. And sometimes females, because of difference in hormones from female to male, sometimes their body can process certain foods that men shouldn't eat as much of. Okay. Certain foods will increase estrogen, and that's okay for females. While other foods can increase testosterone, and that is obviously ideal for males. And so I know men have both testosterone and estrogen, and so do females, but you understand that there are balances there. Men should be testosterone heavy, while females estrogen heavy. So you want to fuel yourselves accordingly. Okay, so certain foods work well for certain people at different ages and stages, and depending on what their medical condition is, depending on whether or not they're male or female. So become food informed. Figure all that out for yourself without being a food Pharisee. And so if you are eating moderate amounts of healthy food, nutrient-dense food, and again, it's moderate amounts, so you're tapping into your caloric surplus. If you're doing some intermittent fasting, you're going to start losing weight. And if you're trying the 16-8 and you're not losing weight and you've tried it 2, 3, 4 weeks, you might want to go to the 20-hour fast, 4-hour feasting, or you might want to trim it all the way back to the OMAD, to the 1 meal a day. And just make sure when you do eat, you're eating stuff that is fuel, not necessarily fun. Okay, those things will definitely work in relationship to your diet. And whatever you do to lose weight, make sure it's sustainable. What you do to lose it, very likely you're going to have to do most of the rest of your life in order to maintain that. I have a friend who lost 75 pounds just like I did. And when he was as heavy as he was, he's a little shorter than me, and he weighed a whole lot more than I ever did. And so he's like, I'm going to lose weight. He lost 75 pounds. But when he had the weight on, he was super depressed. Then he loses the weight, and he's thrilled that he lost all the weight, of course, right? But then he gained it all back. And then having gained it all back, he was more depressed than he ever was previously. And the problem is the way he lost the weight was more gimmicky, and it ended up not being sustainable for him. He couldn't do that the rest of his life. So what I'm saying to you right now is really important. You become food informed, and you use that information. How does this food affect my body? And you use it the rest of your life if you want to maintain, your body composition after having lost the weight. Okay, so make sure it's sustainable. And just to get a little bit more into the science of all this, anytime you eat, if you have a working pancreas, your pancreas produces insulin. Anytime you eat, doesn't matter what it is, good food, healthy food, unhealthy food, your pancreas is going to produce insulin. Because when you eat food, um, it will raise your blood sugar. Now, if you eat a Pop-Tart, it'll raise your blood sugar quickly. If you eat grilled chicken breast, it will raise your blood sugar slowly, just gradually. Okay, so in order to compensate for rising blood sugar, your pancreas produces insulin, and insulin is a fat-storing hormone. So if you eat foods, if you drink an A&W root beer, whatever it is, your pancreas is going to produce insulin really, really fast, and it is going to cause inflammation in your body, and it is going to end up storing fat. You want to eat foods that all foods are going to raise your blood sugar, and therefore your pancreas is going to produce insulin in order to bring your blood sugar down. But if you're eating fibrous carbs, or you're eating, healthy fats and good proteins, it only raises your blood sugar slowly, which means you have time then to walk, or you have time to just do life and to move around. Neat is the idea of kind of what you do when you're just functioning throughout a day. You can look up that NEAT and find the exact acrostic for it. I don't remember what it is, but I mean, just conduct yourself in a routine basis. And if you're eating foods that are fuel, only slowly will your pancreas produce insulin, and slowly your blood sugar will rise, and the insulin will bring that blood sugar then down, and you'll have time to kind of burn through all that so that it doesn't end up being a ton of stored fat in your body. So a little bit about the science of that, why you should eat fibrous foods as opposed to just this nonsense that just shoots your blood sugar up dramatically. All right, so I think I covered exercise sufficiently. If you have questions about exercise, you can put your questions in the comments below. I think I've covered stuff about diet that's hopefully helpful. And you can, if you have questions about that, please comment below and let me know. Now I want to talk about the why of it all. The why of it all. Like, again, when you don't want to exercise, I do run. I tell people I'm not a runner, but I do run. I'm not a runner because it's so painful to run for me. I've been doing it now for 2 years, but it's just still pain beginning to end. I feel like I'll become a runner when it's way less painful. Our son Mark is a runner, and he seems to do it with such ease. So, just get out there and move. But so I'm saying, when you look at the tennis shoes, and you're like, I'm going to go on a run. I'm going to regulate my mental benefit. I'm going to get some gut health. I'm going to sweat some of this stuff out. But you just don't want to. It's in those moments where you're sitting on the bed and you're staring at the shoes, and you got to figure out, well, why am I doing this again? Same thing with the food. I really want to eat the nonsense. I really want to eat the ice cream or the sugary cereal, the Lucky Charms, whatever it is. And why am I going to tell myself no right now? The ghrelin, the hunger hormone, is ratcheting up. And if James and the ghrelin are going to go head to head, who's going to win? Well, the ghrelin is almost always going to win if James doesn't have a very good why. Why am I going to say no to the nonsense food? So let me give you a lot about that. Okay. And here is the why. The first thing is to take it personally. Take it personal. So remember that the food industry doesn't love you. They just want to make money off of you. I mean, they are fine with you getting fat. They want you to buy their product. They don't care anything about your health. And you ought to take a little bit of exception to that. Like, okay, yeah, the Cheez-It company doesn't care about how their product affects my body. The Pop-Tart people, they don't care, okay? And so what I'm saying is, your health is your responsibility. So if you're going to partake in those things, you've got to do them minimally and in moderation, and recognize that there's really no fuel in those kinds of things, no nutrient that will really help you. Your health is your responsibility, and the food industry puts up these big enticing billboards, and you see those things, and then you start to salivate for the Baconator, the Wendy's, whatever it is, the fast food industry. I mean, whatever they're all promoting and marketing, and they want you to buy their product. And so you just kind of look at it and recognize that the odds are stacked against you. I mean, portion sizes are ginormous, and the foods that do fuel you are often more expensive. And I'm just saying the food industry doesn't love you. They want you to be fat off of their product. They want you to eat more and more and more of it. They specifically design food so that it has addictive properties in it. And I don't fault them necessarily for that. We live in a capitalistic country. They want to make more money. They want to sell a product. So we've got to be wise to that. And we've got to say, my health care is my responsibility. So take it personal. And then secondly, the why is to make it spiritual. Make it spiritual. And so what I'm saying there is, this is Strength for Life. This is a spiritual podcast. We understand our theme verse is Psalm 46, number 1, that God is our refuge and strength. He's a very present help in trouble. It's all about deriving spiritual strength from the Word of God for whatever we're facing. But please understand that our spirit and our soul and our body, I mean, it's all connected. If you're having mental trouble and emotional trouble and spiritual trouble, you're probably having physical trouble. So people sometimes get annoyed with me if I say too much about, okay, I lost some weight, and people get annoyed because maybe they're jealous, or for whatever reason they're annoyed with it. But listen, when you have such a transformation where, whether it's spiritual or whether it's physical, you want to tell people how they can enjoy the benefits of that transformation. And so on a spiritual level, on a mental level, an emotional level, because of what I did on a physical level, all of that has been impacted. And so, yeah, if you're physically a mess, you're probably also emotionally a mess, and mentally and spiritually a mess. So when you make it spiritual, you see things in Scripture like the word temperance, which is the idea of self-control. And I had kind of a spiritual enlightenment moment, or an epiphany, if you will, where it all clicked for me. I was reading 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and I think it's verse 27 that says, Paul was writing to the Corinthian believers, and he says, he uses the word castaway. He doesn't want to become a castaway. He says, when I've preached to others, I myself might have become a castaway. And he says, he uses some illustrations there, and he talks about a runner who runs with the prize in mind, and that runner uses temperance. So he self-regulates in order to win a corruptible prize. And then he says, on a spiritual level, we run so that we can receive an incorruptible prize. And his point is, either way, physical or spiritual, he is applying the idea of temperance. So that when he has preached holiness or righteousness or other moral virtues to people, he doesn't lose control of his own life and indulge in unholy things on a spiritual level and then become a castaway. I'm saying these things apply on a physical level as well. And really the physical aspect of it is an issue of stewardship. The Lord has entrusted just one physical body to our care. We have one life to live. And so we've got to do what we can do to steward it for His honor and glory, so that we have a clear head and a strong body, and hopefully a pure heart, and walk in this idea of temperance. And it's in that 1 Corinthians 9 passage where he says he buffets his body, he beats it up, he brings it into subjection. So he's saying he's not going to be controlled by the impulses of who he is physically, because it impacts what he's trying to do spiritually, okay? And temperance mentioned there in 1 Corinthians 9, by no means is that the only passage. You can read Galatians 5. Galatians 5 lists the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, long-suffering. The last fruit of the Spirit listed in Galatians 5 is temperance. Now, did you catch that? Those are called the fruits of the Spirit. What does the Spirit produce in our lives? Well, to be controlled by the Spirit is to have love and joy and peace and long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, meekness, faith, and temperance. And temperance is the idea that we are self-controlled. So if I'm filled with the Spirit and His fruits are being produced in me, I am controlled by Him, which then also means I am going to be controlled by myself. And I would push against um, some kind of religious notion of self-control, some kind of asceticism, and we would recognize religious self-effort is nonsense. But if you are really guided by the Spirit of God, controlled by God's Spirit, you are going to manifest through His power the ability to be self-controlled. Okay, so temperance is a fruit of the Spirit. Not only that, but you can read in 2 Peter chapter 1, where the Bible says, add to your faith. And there are 7 things listed there. One commentator calls them holy affections. And so you add to your faith knowledge and virtue and patience, but one of the 7 things is temperance. So you add self-control. And again, like these things, this stuff just turned on in my brain. Like this is part of the why. Like at some point, reading through the Bible, I'm reading 1 Corinthians 9. I'm seeing it in Galatians 5. I'm seeing it in 2 Peter chapter 1. I even saw it in 2 Timothy 3. The Bible talks about in the last days, perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And a description of the last days includes incontinence, which is the lack of control. In the last days, people will not be able to control themselves. And so Spirit-guided people need to be adding to their faith this idea of temperance. We need to be buffeting our body, bringing it into subjection so that we're not controlled by the physical, but instead we are yielding to the spiritual, okay? These things should serve as motivators. So take it personal and make it spiritual. Recognize the stewardship, one body that you have that you get to take care of, and a measure of divine accountability to Almighty God with how you steward your body. And then think about the people in your life. And the people in my life are my why. I'm married, and my wife and I have been married going on 25 years. And so my wife and my kids and the people that are in my life, they're all a part of my why. My wife needs to have a sense that her husband can protect her, that I am strong and that I am fit, and that if something does happen, I'm able to do what I can in a certain scenario to protect my wife. So as a husband, I mean, my wife is a huge part of why I lost that 75 pounds. Not only that, but my kids are a big part of my why. There's a man I know who recently was super discouraged because he said his kids just don't respect him anymore. And his story is unique to his situation. But I'm saying if you as an individual are practicing restraint, there's going to be other people that see your restraint and they're going to respect you for that. And I want my teenage sons, and when you're a teenage boy, there are unique temptations that accompany that phase of life. And I want them to have measures of restraint in their lives. And if they see me in other areas of my life exhibiting restraint, they're way more likely to have restraint in their lives. And so yeah, my kids, my sons, my wife, they're all a part of my why. And then I mentioned others. If you get your physical health together, it will inspire others. Some people, as I mentioned earlier, will be jealous, but other people will be inspired. And you can't control people's responses, but good people will be inspired if you have success. They'll be inspired to achieve that success, and they will benefit from your example. I am thrilled that there are people in our church family that have said to me, Pastor, I saw all the weight that you lost, and now I'm trying to lose that weight. I'm trying to lose weight as well. And lots of people in our church have had huge success losing weight. And if I was any part of inspiring them, I think that's a wonderful thing. And so, yeah, it will not only give a sense of security to your wife, not only a sense of restraint in your children and add some respect, reasons why people will respect you, but then it'll inspire other people to conduct themselves in a way that they're taking it personal and they're making it spiritual, and in a way that ultimately leads them to a more thriving condition in their lives. So why? 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 Why am I going to lace up the sneakers and go exercise? Why am I going to push away from the ice cream 9 out of 10 times? Well, I'm going to do it for God, the divine accountability, the stewardship of it all. I'm going to do it for my wife. I'm going to do it for my kids. And I'm going to do it for others that are in my sphere of influence. And then lastly, I'm going to do it for me. I'm the last on the list, but as a result, uh, I feel great. I mean, there was a point when I had all that weight on me that I had so much trouble tying my shoes in the morning, like getting out of breath just trying to put my clothes on. Boy, that's embarrassing. And so now I'm at a point, where I'm doing push-ups and I'm doing pull-ups and I'm doing squats and I'm running and I'm playing basketball with people half my age, and I'm doing a whole lot of things that I wouldn't have been able to do 5 years ago, anywhere near on that same level. And so I'm saying I feel great. And so yeah. Lastly, do it for you. But if you do it for the Lord and you do it for your spouse, you do it for your kids, you do it for others, then do it for yourself. Those are a bunch of whys. Why you put the shoes on, why you push away from the nonsense food. So yeah, I said at the outset that if you clicked on this video because you're interested in learning how to lose weight, I said I respect you, and I mean it. And if I can help you on your journey, I sure want to. So feel free to comment in the comment section. If you're watching this on YouTube, maybe there's comment sections on these other platforms where this podcast is heard. Or you could just email us. This is a ministry of our church called Strength for Life. Our email address is strengthforlife461@gmail.com. Again, Strength for Life 461. 461 is from Psalm 46:1, which I mentioned earlier is our theme verse. So Strength for Life 461@gmail.com. Feel free to email any of your questions or your feedback about today's podcast. Okay. Hey, thank you so much. I sincerely hope this explanation strengthens you.